Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining. This is the webinar for NESOI Island Facility, the fourth webinar that we release. This one focused on hydrogen. As you know, NESOI Island Facility is an Horizon 2020 project that supplies or gives support for islands in the European Union and the European continent in order to facilitate funding and the development of their solutions towards the decarbonization of their energy systems. In this focus group, part of the coaching activities that NESOI is providing to the islands in the platform, we are going to see a little bit within the hydrogen projects that it's addressed. This webinar follows the renewable energy sources webinar that was held a few months ago, and it seeks to delve a little bit more on the use of renewable energy sources in the islands and how hydrogen can help to achieve some of the objectives that the energy system in the island have and to overcome some of the challenges that the islands face. Okay. Um, as the agenda is seen, I present myself. I am Bruno Sodiro. I work for RINA Consulting as a project manager in the division of innovation for power generation and hydrogen, and I be chairing this webinar. I will go into a short introduction of hydrogen in island context, and then I will give the floor to three other presenters that are here with me. We are going to have Kostas for a GHEKO project in the Aegean Islands in Greece. Then we will move to the Orkney Islands for the Go H2Me project with Amos, David Amos. And we are going to move then finally to Gran Canaria with the Real 2 project with Domenico Ferrero. At the end, we're going to wrap up some conclusions after discussing a few questions into a round table. And we are going to give also space to the attendants here in the webinar to make some questions if they willing to. So, as an introduction, as I said, today we would like to explore the challenges of renewable electricity in the European islands and how they can spread into our new energy paradigm that we're trying to develop. Islands are the clear example that the energy transition can start from them. They are the players in the new energy paradigm that we are going to develop and we expect to have. So this is really important, and hydrogen emerges as a key in the energy systems that has to be explored. As you can see in this image, in this map, the variety, the diversity of the European islands. It's not only in these vibrant colors, but let's say that the potential of the European islands to drive the transition. As you can see, solar and wind are the main factors that give the European islands the possibility to play this new role in the energy transition and to emerge as pioneers for the sustainable energy future. Abundant sun and constant wind is a huge opportunity that can shift the way as we see islands today as passive consumers of energy, and give the possibility to islands to become the energy producers for the mainland and for themselves. This will allow the islands to transcend from that passiveness that we talked about to active contributors and also influencers to create this decentralized nature of the energy system and to put the islands in the forefront of innovation and also resilience. Uh, let's say that this abundance is not just about meeting the local energy demand, but also to creating a new narrative in the energy independence and the economic growth and what we call the environmental safeguarding. So European islands have this potential. The current situation in Europe and in the whole world shows that we need to move to cleaner energy sources to secure our supply chains, and islands could have a very important opportunity in this new um, world that we need to build. So in this webinar, what we're going to do is to go into more details of projects that are already deployed energy systems, considering hydrogen as the missing link. But we also will see others how they're coping with the possibilities and how NESOI had support them in delving into this 360 decarbonization approach. As we mentioned, the renewable use of electricity in islands has not only benefits, but it has many challenges that need to be overcome in order to create a resilient energy system. Usually, the capacity production in islands is much more higher than they consume or what the grid can handle. So we see that there are many schemes of reservoir production and curtailment, where that energy gets lost or because of the not having the energy storage facilities adequate for them. This compromises a lot the security of the island, which sometimes has to rely again on fossil fuels. So increasing prices for the local community and driving um, the discrepancies with the other energy systems in the mainland. On the other hand, we have like other applications cannot be electrified, so we need to find some solution regarding the utilization and production of renewable energy sources, and this is why we've seen a lot of potential for islands in the development of hydrogen ecosystems. So hydrogen emerges as a link for the sector coupling. As you can see here in the image, the main aspect of hydrogen is that it can channelizing a lot of renewable electricity into molecules. Today, the world energy demand is at least 80% is covered by molecules, and another 20% by electrons. So if we are going to end the fossil fuel era, we need for sure to transform green electrons into green molecules. And the link here is it's hydrogen. Hydrogen, renewable hydrogen specifically, will give us the possibility to bring the decarbonization to all other hard-to-abate sectors that today cannot be electrified. So hydrogen has this enormous potential of addressing different aspects of our whole supply chain, and will play a key role in the upcoming energy transition. As we can see, hydrogen covers many aspects on the whole value chain of hydrogen, cover many aspects, and islands could, in this regard, if we see islands that would be producing and exporting hydrogen to the mainland, will become the new, let's say, the new energy exporters of the world, shifting from what we used to have in our supply chain, fossil fuels coming from other countries where the political situation or geographical situation was difficult in the development of our countries. Now we can see how the production of green hydrogen and shifting from renewable fossil fuels to the use of it just by having abundance of renewables and also water supply could bring also energy security to different countries and will position islands in a very interesting point of it. Of course, one big challenge is that when we're talking about green hydrogen production, we need to consider water resources, which sometimes are in competition more in an island context. So this is an aspect that can be overcome considering the use of desalination of even in the innovation that we're seeing. We expect that in the future it would be also possible to produce hydrogen directly from salt water with a high efficiency. So in the future, we've seen that the islands will have this opportunity, and it will bring equality back to the islands that in the energy system that it was developed over the past years. It didn't. So next slide, please. Okay. So what I want to end up with this and to show is that small demo projects in islands, but in general, could bring a really added value to the development of the hydrogen economy. As we've seen, a hydrogen island, it is a hydrogen valley itself, as it's a limited geographical area. We could have the whole value chain in that restricted area. Different hydrogen technologies come together because we have from production till utilization, different ways of transport, storage, and then we have an integrated ecosystem that is orchestrated by the island, the local community, and at the end we aggregate the volumes, and that makes that the whole project thrive and they improve the economy behind it. So contributing to contribute to the development of the hydrogen economy, islands are a really good example to showcase how an ecosystem which is isolated or remote can increase their capacity and also improve the economic of the whole project and bring hydrogen to a reality. Okay, as I said, now we're going to move to an introduction of the projects. The first, we're setting foot on the islands in one of the islands of the Aegean Sea, specifically Kostas. Chasapis from DAFNI will present GHEKO project, which is an initiative to bring hydrogen production and a hydrogen ecosystem into one of the Greek islands, specifically the islands of Kos. So thanks all, and I leave the floor to Kostas.
Thank you, Bruno. So I would like to welcome everyone in this very interesting webinar about hydrogen in islands. which can be ideal test beds for this kind of ecosystems, technology ecosystems. So my name is Kostas Chasapis on behalf of DAFNI Network for Sustainable Islands, and I will present this NESOI project, the GHEKO project for the Kos Island, which is green hydrogen ecosystem on Kos Island. The main goal of the project is to turn wind energy curtailments into hydrogen and create a hydrogen ecosystem on the island. The beneficiary is the municipality of Kos, and the external expert of the project is DAFNI, the Network of Sustainable Greek Islands. The NESOI partners of the project are RINA and Synlog. The project is titled Creating a Green Hydrogen Ecosystem on Kos Island. The main idea is to use the curtailments of wind energy, which happen because it is an isolated electrical system. It is a non-interconnected island to the mainland. And therefore, the grid is weak and has a certain capacity of absorbing wind energy. Thus, quite significant part of the energy produced has to go wasted. This energy will be utilized to produce hydrogen through an electrolyzer, which will be the hydrogen will be used in tanks, will be stored in tanks in order to be used in filling stations, in refueling stations for the municipal bus, which will replace the conventional bus that already exists. And it will be also used in a hybridized ferry that will be modified to be able to run on diesel oil and hydrogen. In addition, hydrogen will be transported to municipal buildings where it will be used to provide energy to the buildings through micro CHP units. Furthermore, fuel cells will be used to transform hydrogen back to electricity and feed it to the electricity grid, providing in this way also ancillary services. The whole project will be strategically, I mean, the components of the project will be strategically positioned on the island. For example, most of the infrastructure will be at the port in order to minimize transport of the hydrogen and also improve synergies and the accessibility and have accessibility to the hydrogen through land and sea. The whole project is a collaborative effort led by the municipality of Kos and also the municipal port fund of Kos, as well as other stakeholders. The main components, as we described the whole project, the main components of the project are, of course, the electrolyzer, the hydrogen tanks, so the hydrogen production and storage facilities, the refueling stations that will serve the municipal bus and the ferry at the Mastihari port of Kos Island, the CHP stations that will be used to provide electricity and heating to the municipal buildings, and of course the fuel cells that will transform hydrogen back to electricity and supply it to the island's grid. In addition, as we described, there will be this hydrogen-based ferry that will be modified in order so it will not be a new one, but it will be a modified, the current one will be modified, so it will be able to run on hydrogen too. And of course, there will be a synergistic integration of various hydrogen consumption facilities, thus reducing transportation costs. Now, the lessons that we have learned through the whole project and our study with it is that, first of all, that a hydrogen ecosystem is indeed feasible on non-interconnected islands. One also very important lesson is that green hydrogen needs substantial funding because the capex is still an expensive technology, and particularly for small isolated islands, the costs increase furthermore. The curtailed wind energy, specifically for the Kos Island that we did the simulations and the calculations, is able to provide a substantial part of the island's energy, but is not able to cover in 100% the energy needs. The project, mainly due to the fact that there is no additional renewable capacity, so there are no new wind farms, but only curtailed energy is exploited. The project has high social acceptance, and this means that it will be relatively easier to realize it. Furthermore, the seasonality of the demand, because it is an island and it has a quite seasonal energy demand, which peaks during the summer months due to tourism. So this seasonality affects the storage sizing of the system, and this in turn has an impact on the overall profitability of the project. Finally, we saw that in general and in principle, there is a high replicability potential of this project to other islands, Greek or non-Greek islands. And there is a quite high interest from other islands to discover the possibilities of this hydrogen ecosystem. So, from our point of view, the project's best practices are, first of all, that there is no additional capacity, which, as discussed previously, means that there is this potential for higher social acceptability, which is very important, particularly in closed communities such as the islands. Another point is that the utilization of wind curtailments basically improves the efficiency, let's say, of the electrical system, of the island's electrical system, because in this way we exploit more energy, and so wind energy is not wasted. One extra point is this seasonal energy storage that can be provided using the hydrogen as an energy carrier, as a storage, as means of storage, because the energy that is produced during the winter months can be used during the summer months, which is the peak of the energy demand of the islands, at least the touristic ones. And overall, the creation of a hydrogen system means that there are more and more users. So this creates economies of scale and improves the cost of the energy and the energy stability of the electrical system of the islands. And thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Kostas. Really interesting case of about how a society can leverage on the curtailment and make it profitable. Now we're moving to the cold and windy Northern Isles with David Amos, Managing Director of PlusZero, who is guiding GoHme project. So we are going to discover a little bit more how this project seeks to expand the market while blending innovation and cost-effectiveness solutions. Please, David.
Thank you, Bruno. I'm delighted to support the workshop. I'm Managing Director of the commercial partner for this project, PlusZero. We both produce green hydrogen, not in Orkney, but in another of the Scottish island archipelagos, the Western Isles. And then we use green hydrogen as fuel for hydrogen generators that replace diesel generators. So we operate in the production and application space. So the project in Orkney, as Bruno mentioned, it is a very wet and windy island, like all Scottish islands, so it has very significant potential for renewable energy. And Orkney has identified that renewable wind power and eventually wave and tidal power will play a significant part in the island's future, generating major new industries, but also the potential to use some of that renewable power to produce green hydrogen at scale on the island is something that is very much an opportunity for the island. There is 28 gigawatts of offshore wind farms being auctioned, the majority of which are around the Scottish islands. So that potential is there for a very significant future industry in green hydrogen production. The challenge at the moment is what we would call a chicken and egg situation in the UK, in that, as Kostas has mentioned, the hydrogen equipment is very expensive at the moment. So producers of hydrogen don't want to invest in production equipment if they don't know they can sell the hydrogen, and similarly users of hydrogen application technology, buses, generators, other things, don't want to invest in the new technology unless they know they can source hydrogen, so at a price. And so this project was really looking if we could help to create more demand for hydrogen produced in Orkney to support the expansion and development. There is already some green hydrogen production taking place in Orkney. Project partner European Marine Energy Centre have been producing green hydrogen and leading on several innovation projects, grant-funded projects, looking at the use of hydrogen, looking at hydrogen for ferries, hydrogen for aviation fuel, hydrogen for heating for schools, and hydrogen for shore power. So there is already experience of those grant-funded projects and opportunities. But this project was very much looking to see if we can help move beyond the grant-funded side to look at more commercial production. So it was about trying to see if we could create demand for some of the surplus green hydrogen that is going to be being produced in Orkney, both at the moment and in the future. With the view of trying to support the development of a commercial hydrogen production industry on Orkney, but also provide customers of green hydrogen another source, because in the UK at the moment there is very little green hydrogen available, and therefore customers who are looking for hydrogen are willing to pay a higher price for it. The project, our partners, we had technical expertise provided from RINA Consulting, your colleagues Bruno, who did a great job, and Sinlock. And then the actual project partners themselves were ourselves, European Marine Energy Centre, Edinburgh University, who did some research into attitudes and perceptions towards green hydrogen, and then a specialist risk regulatory consultancy, Abbott Risk Consulting. Next slide, please, Bruno. So the project set out to answer a number of key questions, the first two of which were just how much green hydrogen could be produced in Orkney, and then will that create any surplus for Orkney's needs? And as I said, at the moment there is already some green hydrogen production being produced, but they are struggling to get local commercial applications for all of that. So even at present, there is a certain amount of surplus capacity that we were looking to see if we could create a market for. In the medium to long term, Orkney will become a very, very significant producer of green hydrogen. So that opportunity to export hydrogen at scale is something that is going to be an important feature for Orkney in the future, and so we wanted to look at the different routes to which that hydrogen might be able to reach markets. So a key part of the project was to understand that strategic development of the green hydrogen production industry in Orkney and how the demand for hydrogen could grow both on the island but also the kind of export markets. Next slide, Bruno. And then, having identified that there is surplus hydrogen going to be produced, we started to look at and how could you move that from Orkney to those mainland markets. So RINA did a very significant piece of desktop research for us, looking at the sort of economic model around hydrogen production and export at scale, looking at what are the most cost-effective routes to moving hydrogen, whether that is in gaseous form and compressed gas or through pipelines, or converting hydrogen into derivatives like either methanol, ammonia, liquid organic carriers. So we had that sort of research, sort of understanding of the different routes and cost effectiveness. And then we looked very practically at how we could move the smaller amounts that are being produced in Orkney at the moment, talking to the local transport companies, the local ferry companies. We did a detailed analysis of the current regulatory environment, the health and safety regulations that would be required to ensure that hydrogen can be moved safely, both by road, on the island ferry, and then on the mainland ferry to reach markets. And we identified and set up a transport process with a local haulage company and with the ferry companies that would allow us to move that hydrogen in the short term in the smaller volumes that are available. And in small volumes, moving compressed hydrogen is really the only sort of cost-effective way of shifting hydrogen in the sort of a few hundred to a few tons of hydrogen. Next slide, Bruno. And then, having identified that A, there was going to be surplus hydrogen available in Orkney, B, that we could transport it safely and within the rules to the mainland, we looked at and what are the current commercial opportunities for hydrogen that is produced in Orkney at the moment. And we identified 3 markets, 2 of which PlusZero, my company, is already active in. So outdoor events, these are sporting, music, cultural events that use diesel generators to provide the power. They are some of them are very interested in decarbonising and becoming much more green and sustainable, and they are willing to pay a premium for that in the 20 to 30 pounds a kilo, or 23 to 34 pounds a euro for hydrogen. And that in its own right is quite a significant market. It could take up to 90,000 tonnes of hydrogen a year. That's in the UK. Then outdoor film production, where again they use diesel generators to power the lighting and the equipment they use, and they are willing to pay a little bit more in the UK. People like Netflix and Amazon. Again, there is a big focus on film production becoming much greener, and therefore a willingness to pay a premium for that. And then the final area is hydrogen innovation projects. These are companies that are developing new hydrogen technologies. They require hydrogen to test the equipment and the systems they're developing, and they will in effect pay any price that they can to get the hydrogen necessary to deliver their tests, and they will pay up to £100 a kilo. It's worth saying that that is the price that BOC or Air Liquide charge for grey hydrogen in the UK. So that, if you like, sets the sort of the benchmark. And these companies, if they can get green hydrogen instead of grey hydrogen, are very happy to pay the sort of high price in order to get it. Although the volume of that is quite small. But even at these high prices, we identified that there is a market for the hydrogen, green hydrogen, and also that island hydrogen is seen as being very attractive to these companies. Next slide, please, Bruno. So the key lessons that we learned through the project, the first was that yes, the customers view very favourably the idea of buying hydrogen that is produced in an island community where the production of the hydrogen is bringing benefit to the local community. So in Orkney's case, many of the wind turbines that produce the renewable energy are within community ownership, and therefore hydrogen is creating more demand for the electricity that they produce. So that is all seen as a very positive story. We also identified that in the UK mainland there are customers who are willing to pay a significant premium at the moment for that green hydrogen from the islands, and that therefore there is a market that can help support the development of a hydrogen production sector in the islands. A big impact during the project was the UK electricity price very significantly increased following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and that did have a big impact on the cost of electrolysis, adding about £21 a kilo to the cost of production. And at that point, it had pushed the price above what some of the markets were willing to pay. But in the UK, that price has started to fall back down. But we are still paying quite a high price for electricity at the moment. The road and ferry transport side of things does also add cost, 7 to 14 euros a kilo there. But because of the willingness on the UK mainland to pay a bit extra for island green hydrogen, we were able to cover that additional cost in the markets that we looked at, as long as the electricity price had come back down. A couple of, I guess, negative but very important lessons as well is that Orkney have found, and we have also found in the Western Isles, that the small-scale hydrogen production equipment, the electrolyser, the balancer plant, can be unreliable at this stage. And also that the equipment or elements of the equipment can rust in the kind of island environment that we have in the north of Scotland, where you have driving rain, wind and salt in the rain that gets into all the cracks and crevices of the equipment. And we were surprised to see how quickly some of the hydrogen equipment starts to rust in an island environment. So something that's been a very important lesson for us going forward in ensuring we specify the right materials in equipment. And linked to that point was the reliance on the suppliers and maintenance engineers who were all mainland-based for the Orkney equipment, and that often meant that it took a long time to get the right engineers back onto the island to repair equipment, and highlighted the importance of starting to develop those skills and capabilities within the island's own supply chain, so that we become more self-sustaining going forward. Next slide, Bruno. And then some best practices. Well, we did that very detailed strategic analysis of the potential for green hydrogen production, and both in the short, medium and long term in Orkney, and understanding what the potential demand for hydrogen on the island could be once you start to use hydrogen across the range of things that has been identified as feasible, that ferries, transport, heating, power and the like. They can consume a certain volume of hydrogen on the island going forward, but will still be much smaller than the potential production potential. So we mapped that out strategically, and that's a very valuable reference document for the island. We also identified that there are viable markets at the moment for any surplus green hydrogen produced on Orkney, which can help create additional valuable demand for producers, so that as they scale up their production, they are not only reliant on local supply, local demand, which might take several years to build up. We established a viable road and ferry transport route to move hydrogen from Orkney to mainland customers, and meeting all of the regulatory requirements. And the final question that we had set out to aim in the project is, can we achieve a successful demonstration of Orkney green hydrogen being used to support hydrogen innovation in the UK? And EMEC did manage that very successfully in November last year. They delivered the first commercial shipment of Orkney green hydrogen to Rolls-Royce, which is a UK aircraft engine company, and they were developing aero engine that uses hydrogen as a fuel, and so it was Orkney green hydrogen that was delivered to support that development at a very high price as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Really interesting presentation. A clear example of how hydrogen is addressing the fact that we are not just covering local community needs, but empowering the community also to become active participant in the energy transition. So now we finally land on the African coast. We go into Gran Canaria with Domenico Ferrero from Politecnico di Torino, who is bringing us the Real2 project that explores an initiative in Aldea, which is redefining the sustainability in a remote island location, showcasing global potential for renewable energy. So, Domenico, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bruno, and I'm delighted to be there to support this webinar. I'm Domenico Ferrero from Politecnico di Torino. I'm a researcher in this institution. About the project, here we developed the idea of expanding what has been a previous result of another European project, which is called Remote, in which it was explored the possibility of using hydrogen as a backup storage for renewable energy. So in this case, the choice of the Gran Canaria island is strictly related to the fact that, in particular of the municipality of Aldea, was the demonstration site of already of an hydrogen project within the remote project that was coordinated by Politecnico di Torino. That's why we are there, and the choice of the location depends on this. So moving to the project, well, the main goal has been the evaluation of the technical and economic feasibility of exploiting the local renewables to produce hydrogen for mobility. So the idea was to explore this possibility, but in order to be sure that that could be a feasible option, in this project we analyzed from the point of view of the technical and economical point of view when this could be feasible in that specific location. So as project beneficiary is Politecnico di Torino, and we had the help of our external expert, the ETC, the Istituto Tecnologico de Canaria, which is located there, and of the NESOI partners, CISR and SINLOC. So moving to the motivation of the project, as already said before, we had this demonstration project in Aldea. In this case, our starting point is a demonstration plant, which is basically implements a power-to-power solution in which the hydrogen is the chemical storage from renewable energy. In the case of remote, and what is already there and running in Aldea, is a power-to-power plant which has a renewable input from photovoltaic and is providing power using an hybrid system with hydrogen and batteries to a local cattle farm. This is a case, the choice of Aldea also for a remote project is because Aldea is a particular community inside Gran Canaria, which is always defined like the island in an island, because it has a limited connection due to the geography, because it's located in a side of the island where it's really difficult to reach the eastern part of the island. There is just a few roads to be there, and also the electrical connection to the main grid of Gran Canaria is very weak. So there is really a need coming from the local people of having a storage system, especially for the industrial or agricultural application. And in this case, then Gran Canaria especially is a place where there is an high availability of local renewable resources, both from the point of view of the wind generation, but also solar generation. So there is a lot of renewable availability. So it's an ideal place where it can be studied the extension of the scope of the remote project, not only as a backup system for the integration of renewable in the electric grid, but also to provide hydrogen for the local transport. And in particular, the starting point of the project was to analyze an already existing route for the mobility, and it was selected a local bus fleet that is connecting city of Mogan to Las Palmas, going to L'Aldea. So in this case, we are having the goal is to start studying the substitution of diesel mobility with hydrogen mobility on an existing demand already, which is of the public mobility with buses. And in order to evaluate the feasibility of the project, it has been done a study of what is the background, so the availability of local resources, but also the let's say the regulatory background, in order to really analyze where it was feasible to locate the plant, and so the land use was also taken into account in the specific location. And it was studying also the market, of course, of hydrogen in the island, and in order to understand what is really the feasibility of this. And it was also developed within the project a business plan to see what are the points that are needed in order to implement the project, and to offer the opportunity to companies to really implement the project, starting from the results of the study done in Real 2.0. So if we move to the next slide, thanks. The configuration of the plant that was identified in the analysis take into account different options for hydrogen production, hydrogen storage, and the infrastructure needed to provide hydrogen to buses. So it was identified the best option, combining the wind power and photovoltaic power with a wind turbine of 1 megawatt and 500 kilowatt PV plant. This was done also taking into account that in the specific location a wind turbine was already there, so it was considered to increase the size of the wind turbine as an option, and of course increase the size also of the PV. It was already installed in the location, especially for the remote project, but was of a smaller size. And it has been considered the use of water coming from the local desalination plant. And in terms of size in the system, a 400 kilowatt electrolyzer was found to be the best trade-off between the generation efficiency and considering the local profile of renewables and the demand, which is around 100 kilos per day. And it was considered to use a low temperature electrolyzer combined with an hydrogen compressor to provide hydrogen to a 300 bar, and considering a storage of 300 kilos at 300 bar. And then disconnected to a refilling station. It was performed within the project also the localization of the refilling station in an area that was suitable for having the authorization for installing it. So it is already been identified where it could be, and of course the local fleet of buses was considered the commercial hydrogen buses that are available on the market. So moving to the next, please. Thank you. What are the results that we obtained? That in terms of the hydrogen demand, we are talking, say, around 100 kilos, a little bit less, like 80 kilos per day. And the route that has been considered is covering like a distance of like 1,500 kilometers. So it's covering like all the west part of the island. And the economic feasibility study focused especially to identify the condition in which this hydrogen mobility could reach at least a parity compared to the diesel mobility. So considering the diesel price and the current investment cost for the different subsystem. And the analysis included, of course, also the option of having some support, some grant to cover part of the capex. And in the analysis, by considering a scenario with a 60% of capex grant, the results show that it is possible to implement this kind of project, considering a PPA, so an agreement with some renewable producer, and it is possible to achieve an internal rate of return of 6% or with 12 years of payback. And especially when considering the parity with the diesel price, if we are talking about a price of around €1 per liter, then the investment cost could be recovered if the electricity is available at around the price of €80 per megawatt hour, which is, let's say, a feasible price there. Of course, we are considering that the initial investment in order to reach a parity should be covered by a 60% capex grant. And about the renewable option, what has been analyzed in the project during the localization, that besides the repowering of the wind turbine, the photovoltaic could be installed in different places. So it was considered public buildings, so to be installed on the rooftops, but also considering the use of some lands. This area is mostly agricultural, but there are, let's say, abandoned cropland which can be used for installing the photovoltaic, or even some option could be an agrivoltaic, so some cultures that could be combined photovoltaic and culture in the same place. Or, as said, one option is also feasible is considering PPA agreement with already existing plants. So the option are to increase the renewable generation or having some agreement with the local producer. And if we move on to the next slide. Thank you. So what has been found as a lesson learned from the project is that basically here, with the integration of photovoltaic and wind, which is the best option also from the techno-economic analysis, is really beneficial to ensure the high capacity factor of the electrolyzer. So it has been found from the simulation done that could be higher than 80%. So it's very good for having a fast electrolyzer amortization. So also in terms of replicability, the the results shown here in this project could be applicable, especially to other islands where there is the possibility of having both availability of wind and solar. So in particular, so Gran Canaria is a particular place on the side at which there is really available of both of them. But what is another point that has been verified in the project, another lesson that really this is also the economic feasibility has been verified. So it has been shown that it is possible to recover the investment if we consider that a part of the capex is provided, the investment cost is provided by support grants. And then another point that has been found that for the particular location of Aldea, which is close to protected areas, even it's not really inside the S area, it's a protected one, but is an area in which really the environmental research is really encouraged. And we also find, let's say, plenty of support already in the remote project about having some hydrogen project there. So it is really an interesting area for the implementation of an hydrogen demonstration for mobility. And of course, their applicability is something that is highly replicable when there is the availability of enough renewable resources. Of course, with less renewable resources, there is then there will be some drawbacks on the side of the hydrogen cost, especially. And finally, in terms of what, if we move to the final slide, in terms of the best practice, so what has been implemented here is this project, is that it is important, of course, to consider that the profile of renewables and especially the combination. So the exploitation of combined renewables is really something that could be beneficial for the economicity of the project. And exploiting also the, let's say, starting from the current demand and substituting the current demand, such as being for the fossil fueled vehicle, is really something that could be a good point where to start. So identifying an existing demand rather than increasing another one. So there is just a substitution, let's say, of the technology on the same demand. And what has been also implemented in a project here is always an economic evaluation, of course, towards some benchmark, which is the fossil one, especially the diesel for the island. And it has been a large part of the project also the verification really of the possible implementation, considering the local constraints in terms of regulation or land use constraint, or of course on the availability also of the resources and not only of the demand. So this has been implemented in the project, and we have found really a good result, and so we will look forward to having next step in the real implementation of this. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Domenico, for explanation. It's really interesting. And now we're going to go directly to a discussion session. I will pose a few questions for the speakers in a round table, and then I will give the floor to the attendees if they want to ask a specific question for our speakers or even to myself. So, and then we will wrap up the discussion with some conclusions, and that will be all. So, next slide, please. So, first question is for Kostas. You mentioned that the project had a high replicability. What do you think would be, I mean, like the main challenges given the geographical characteristics of the Aegean Islands or the Greek regulatory framework? Which are the main challenges that you are encountering when posing the task of replicate these hydrogen ecosystems?
Yes, thank you, Bruno. Yes, we see that there is a high replicability potential of this kind of projects in Greek islands. Of course, this is still in a theoretical level, let's say. I mean, the geography of the Greek islands, which are basically, most of them are small islands. There are many islands with very few inhabitants, maybe less than 3,000 inhabitants, or even much less. So there are many non-interconnected islands, I mean non-interconnected in electrical terms to the electrical system. So in theory, this hydrogen ecosystem can serve them and can provide them due to the through the sector coupling, can provide many benefits to this kind of communities, and can create a degree of autonomy or autarky. I mean, be self-sufficient up to a point. And there is this conversation that people are exploring possibilities with this new technology. I mean, it's not a new technology, but it is just now starting to be commercially applied. So there are several, there is a skepticism behind the fact that it's still a niche technology, mostly, which still needs to be tested. I mean, there are several issues like the ones that David mentioned before, like technical issues, particularly for the island environment where there is this specific, there are these specific conditions of wind, of salt, and all these kind of things. Also, the fact that these small islands do not have trained staff that can maintain the equipment. So people have to come from mainland or from bigger islands in order to create security in the operation of the equipment. Another big issue as a challenge that is seen from people from basically municipalities that we are dealing with them. I mean, we speak mainly to municipalities, island municipalities, is the fact that the capex is still quite high, and particularly for these isolated communities. So this includes also the transportation cost, the companies, the installation companies that will have to send their staff and their technicians to install the equipment. And this increases even more the already high capex. And in combination with the fact that they are small islands, so the systems will be small, so the cost is even more. I mean, there are no economies of scale, and this also explodes the capex. And last but not least are some environmental considerations and concerns, meaning that this hydrogen production has to be combined with some energy production from renewables. So either it will be already installed renewables and using the curtailments as the current project that I presented, or new capacity will be needed, which will bring issues regarding environmental protection. Many of the Greek islands have either are the whole area or big parts of the areas are protected. And this creates some conflict with the project development, and also raises some concerns on behalf of the local communities. But overall, there is this, due to the sector coupling of hydrogen, there is this high potential of exploitation in isolated communities such as the islands.
Perfect. So a pretty interesting point of view. Hydrogen is bringing, let's say, another let's say add-on to the discussion of how we're dealing with the energy transition at the end. So brings the possibility also for locals to see a good impact on their economy and on the supply they rely. Yeah, I also take out that point that we experienced during the years of I think might have happened a lot in Greece, which is an insular country, migration from the islands regarding the difference, the inequality between islands and mainland, and that drive a lot of people out from the island. So hydrogen could bring also, I think, that labor back to the islands who can leverage on the new projects that will come. So moving to the next question, which is little bit related to this, as for David, Orkney Islands, they already developed and deployed a hydrogen ecosystem showcase. They have several projects, and you talk about how local community supports this as they have found themselves as actors in this ecosystem that you are creating. But in the view and the prospect of having bigger renewable energy production and massive hydrogen production in the island, that will bring, of course, a lot of new players which will deploy and develop these hydrogen production plants. How is the community finding this new development for the island that will bring prosperity and, of course, development for the island, but as well will bring other aspects from big players on a place that used to have a local community?
Yeah. The community in general seem very supportive and excited about the opportunities. I think, Bruno, you have to remember that Orkney and Shetland Islands, the other island archipelago off the north of Scotland, have been at the heart of the UK oil and gas industry for 30, 40 years because of the production of North Sea oil and gas. So Orkney has had many decades of experience of having large-scale oil infrastructure. It has Europe's largest natural deep water harbour in Scapa Flow, and Scapa Flow has been used to do ship-to-shore and ship-to-ship oil and gas transfers for decades. So as a community, they are used to having both that infrastructure on the island, or energy-related infrastructure, and energy-related jobs being important within the island community. And you know, the Scottish Island communities have been concerned about the economic impact of the decline in oil and gas production in the North Sea. So what green hydrogen presents is an opportunity to start to replace and hopefully expand the jobs that will be created from the energy industry, but from a clean energy industry in the future. So that is seen as a positive factor. In Orkney's particular case, there will be less onshore wind developments. Orkney is a very fertile agricultural island, and it has a World Heritage Centre on it because of the archaeological assets it has. And most of the renewable energy development will be around offshore wind and tidal. So there is less concern on the island that they will see very significant development of onshore wind turbines, which in some communities can create some concerns, but not in Orkney's case. All of the bulk of the new renewables will be offshore, so less impactful for the local communities. In terms of the production of power to X, clearly you won't be moving large volumes of hydrogen in compressed gas form on lorries in the way that we have been doing it for this project. So There is already a project in Orkney looking at the production of green ammonia as a more cost-effective transport vector. And as I say, the Orkney communities are used to having that kind of chemical industry. You know, they've got big storage tanks for oil and gas on the island, so that's not complete. It's not something that is completely new to the island, having that sort of industrial scale activity. And also the Scottish Government, working with the European Union, is exploring the potential for pipeline that could go actually from Ireland around the north of Scotland and connect into the gas pipeline network that already exists because of North Sea gas. So in addition to the power to X and ammonia production as being one route to markets for the large scale production, they're also exploring the potential for a hydrogen gas pipeline that could support the export of hydrogen from Orkney and Shetland and the Western Isles where our production is based.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer, David. And I'm moving to the last question for Domenico. I wanted to ask you what is the level of engagement of the local stakeholders? You mentioned that you had support that, but are they promoting the initiatives? Are they looking for new funding schemes, or it's more the public which is driving the transition in Gran Canaria or Aldea?
Yes, thank you for these questions. About this, the companies, let's say the local stakeholders and companies are really interested in moving on with the hydrogen projects. So from the point of view of the specific project, we had the involvement already of our let's say external expert here is the Instituto Tecnologico of Canaria, which has a lot of contacts here in with companies. As also thanks to the remote project, we had a series of companies that are already involved, such as the local farmer that have seen already a demonstration here that is very important, and they are really interested to also invest, because also in Gran Canaria there are quite organized plans also for the introduction of hydrogen in the island. So we are moving in a framework in which also the companies or possible investors can really move within a defined framework. So we have seen the interest both for the local community, but also for the companies to take part in a hydrogen transition, especially there. And what we are looking at as Politecnico is quite a peculiar beneficiary there, because it's a public institution. So we are looking forward to find some opportunity from the European Union, or even from Spain, or for local fundings, in order to have the opportunity really to implement this project. So going on the next step, which is the realization of this demonstration. So within that, with the interest of the companies, also thanks to the fact that we have this environment which is really encouraging the hydrogen use, and also thanks to the opportunity that we have also to disseminate a part of the results already of remote. So we're really looking forward to find the opportunity really to go on and to implement this. And we see that for the point of view of the local stakeholder, that we see a good response. So we hope that in the next month there will be the opportunity to move on a demonstrative project on this side. And yes, this is the let's say the local environment really is really promising on this side. Then from the point of view of moving also to some words about the local community, this is a kind of peculiar, let's say, environment, being like an island on an island, and therefore the introduction of hydrogen as let's say an electricity storage, but also in this case for the local mobility, really open the opportunity of having new jobs or to differentiate the local economy. So it's really something that could be that could have a positive impact, and is up to now is seen as an opportunity. Also from the local community, we see a good support for this kind of initiatives. And yes, this is. Oh, I see that it was also another part.
Yeah, that was another question, but I think it's well addressed from what you said. I don't think it has posed any challenge, the fact of water from desalinization with the local community as
yeah, from that point, but in general, I can spend just a word more on this. That is, both from the side of the resources, the demand, or also in this case, one of the resources is water. We have, in the case of the desalination plant specifically, that this was underutilized, so we are not planning, let's say, an expansion of this, so we are not seeing a criticality now because there is an availability of water there. But also for the renewable sources, thanks to the study, we have seen at this size that there is really the possibility to implement the project without having a too high impact on the local community. So on this side, we don't see criticality at this level. Of course, if we are looking to a further expansion, that could be some point that should be addressed by studying what is then the impact if we move to larger size rather than the one shown in the project.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, Domenico. Very insightful. I'm going to go to a last question for all the speakers here. Regarding your experience in these projects, in other projects that you already have, what do you envision for the hydrogen technologies in the UAE Islands? Which role do you envision the most? We've seen that these demonstrative projects, even though sometimes it's not feasible from the economical point of view or financial point of view. We utilize your funding to showcase the community the possibilities that are behind a new energy carrier. We bring it, we raise social awareness, but then at the end it would prevail one of the technologies. Of course, we are not competing, we are seeing which is the most promising one. But we've seen that in some of them, we might have some competitor on the other side. For example, in heating, we have heat pumps, or we have electric buses or electric cars. Either we develop and deploy the hydrogen ecosystems which run on hydrogen, given the possibility. So this question is to wrap up a little bit on hydrogen islands, or what you have envisioned on your projects, which could be the most promising one technologies on that. So I will start from Kostas again, and then
Thank you, Bruno. Personally, I believe that the future in general, and particularly for the islands, I mean the energy future, includes not only one technology, but a combination of technologies which can provide resilience to the islands, which is a very important issue for these areas. So the thing is to identify the areas and the sectors where each of the technology options is mostly suitable for. So I see a combination of storage technologies that will include both hydrogen and batteries as well, in addition to pumped hydro, for example, in areas where this is available. So it depends. It really depends on the territory and the local resources that you have there, and this is what has to be exploited, because on the other hand, hydrogen production is not feasible without water supply. So quite a few islands have problems with water supply, so maybe hydrogen is not the ideal solution for these specific islands. So it really comes to designing the future, having in mind all the synergies that can be created in the different sectors, and exploit the local energy potential to the maximum.
Perfect. David?
Thanks, Bruno. So I guess we, Orkney and the Scottish Islands are very different, I guess, from the Greek and Canary Islands in that heating demand is a significant source of energy requirement in the islands. We are both cold and very windy, and our housing stock tends to be old and not very well insulated. So, and a significant number of our community populations live in what we term fuel poverty, and that they pay, you know, a significant proportion of their disposable income on energy costs. So while at a household level we see increasing installation of heat pumps coupled with insulating the properties, and that is more likely the sensible way forward to address that heat challenge in a household basis. Our larger buildings, whether that's schools, hospitals, factories, distilleries, a number of those use industrial boilers, which are burning kerosene. That kerosene is brought onto the island by ship. It's difficult to see how you can electrify that heating cost effectively at the moment. And so one of the immediate opportunities that has been identified is when production starts to increase would be the possibility of decarbonising those industrial heating applications using green hydrogen produced on the island. So that's one that several business cases in the islands are being built upon, supplying that alternative to kerosene for industrial heating purposes. We will have the same opportunities on transport, you know, buses, heavy transport that the other islands have. But also I think looking at decarbonising the fishing vessels, so looking at the opportunities around hydrogen diesel dual fuel, so rather sort of retrofitting hydrogen injection equipment into existing diesel engines to, you know, significantly bring down the carbon as a first transition stage. You're not going to be able to switch a fishing boat to fuel cell very easily, but but you can retrofit dual fuel technology, which also might create an initial pathway to decarbonisation. And in the area that PlusZero is active, portable power, replacing diesel generators with hydrogen generators, our 100% hydrogen combustion engine generators offer a very easy replacement at the moment for diesel generators, which in an island context are used, you know, in construction, for shore power, for the fish farming industry, use a lot of diesel generators. So that is another opportunity in the short term.
Yeah, sure. Very exciting. Thanks. Domenico?
Yes, well, as David said, of course, we have islands here shown that are on different, geographically speaking, different places, and so also different demands. So especially when talking about Gran Canaria, we are talking less about, of course, heating demands. But for example, another important thing that it is important to say that we are also talking about sometimes island with different size. If you are talking about island like Gran Canaria, we are talking of quite, let's say, large islands. So also, for example, for internal transportation in the island, there are quite long paths that could be covered, and I see there for the island that could have some really long transportation route, the opportunity also for hydrogen there maybe is higher than the electrical transportation. As we know, there is there are more options if we compare the two type of mobility for longer paths covered by hydrogen vehicle rather than electrical one. So that could be an option for larger island, also for the let's say longer routes mobility. But we see also that there is of course option for hydrogen in the decarbonization, let's say, of all the industrial sector. If we talk about also the decarbonization of the activity in ports or for vessels, here as well in Gran Canaria as in the other island, there is really the opportunity of the introduction of hydrogen to replace mainly the diesel that is used there. So we see from the experience in Gran Canaria that could be at least maybe on the short term, that for the industrial, but also in the medium term for the mobility, that could be really the option of hydrogen. And we see always, also coming from the experience of remote, that for storage, the best option is always not having just the hydrogen, but of course hybrid with some form of the electrical storage. These are really the things that provide the optimum from the point of view of an economic point of view, but also from an emission point of view, to reduce the size of the equipment that is installed, and also to reduce the impact on the lifetime then of the installation. So we see really in the hybridization of the hydrogen storage with the electrical storage that could be really a game changers for island, or even for other places on mainland that are like microgrid or small grids.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we are at the verge of considering all the sustainable technologies that will help us with this transition. It's not choosing one over the other. So at the end, it's finding the best combination of them according to their needs and to the conditions. I will give the floor to if there is any question from the audience, we can read them. I think you can directly write on the question chat box. If not, we wrapped up the discussion with a bit of the conclusions. We just wait 1-2 seconds if anyone wants to pose a question. Okay. First, okay, yes, David, please. Sorry, I didn't
Thanks,
see
Bruno.
the hand. Yeah.
It hasn't come up in the discussion to date, but I thought it was worth highlighting that that you don't just produce hydrogen from electrolysis, you also produce a much larger volume of oxygen. And in the Scottish Islands, we have a very significant demand for oxygen, which comes from our fish farming industry. And supply of green oxygen to replace the grey oxygen that they currently use, or sometimes produce themselves using oxygen concentration equipment driven by diesel generators. So that creates an additional market for a product that usually is a waste product, and that can make quite a significant impact on the commercial viability of the hydrogen production equipment. So it's always worth thinking about, is there demands for the other outputs from electrolysis, which is oxygen and in some cases heat. If you have something that can use the waste heat as well, then and can co-locate your hydrogen production facility close to that. So yeah, just to highlight that if there is demand for oxygen on an island, as there is in the Scottish Islands, that can be very valuable for the business case of your hydrogen production equipment.
Yeah, sure. It's a really interesting point. Also, it's already demonstrated that it drives down the economy of the project, improves the economy of the project in terms of the levelized cost of the hydrogen, as you have another revenue from a byproduct, and allows a lot of sector coupling, as you say, fish farming or wastewater treatment as well can be coupled into that, creating a nice synergy. This is really interesting also from the point of view that the project development to seek for these kind of synergies outside the boundaries of our project. I think we could like wrap up a little bit the discussion of what you have presented today, and then I just will do a quick note regarding the NESOI platform. First of all, I want to thank you all for the participation. It was a really nice discussion with all of you, your presentations, and to see how completed 3 different projects in 3 different regions of Europe, having some same challenges or of different ones, but how you are overcoming them or what you have learned thanks to in these 12 months of projects you have with the NESOI support. I think one common factor, not only for islands, but for every hydrogen project, is the economy of the project behind the equipment, the cost of the equipment. It's one of the main aspect that is slowing a little bit the transition to hydrogen and deployment of hydrogen systems. I personally believe that in the upcoming years we will see much more reliable and easy to install solutions as modular reactors, small ones that could be easily installed at a home level or at industrial level, scaling up. Much more digitalization, which will allow a lot of people getting into the market and participated in hydrogen, and a development of the whole infrastructure. As you've seen today, we have that as David mentioned in the beginning, the chicken and egg dilemma. It's we need to match the consume with the production, but in between we're still lacking from the response of the big players, which are the grid operators of the transporters, or even the whole infrastructure that needs to solve and provide the solutions. So I see islands having a great potential to demonstrate and to showcase how sustainability can be achieved and how hydrogen plays a role here. And I also see how islands could become, at least in Europe, at European level, the new suppliers of energy and the energy security from Europe within its boundary, don't having to rely on countries to the east or countries to the west or to the south, but creating a more, let's say, democratic energy supply for all Europeans. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that, but that's the main vision from this webinar, is to show also how different possibilities, how the different hydrogen projects at the end were seeking energy security and empowering the local communities through the utilization of hydrogen in all their ways, as heating, transport, energy storage, or even green molecules to export to mainland. So just to wrap up, to finalize, as you know, soon we are launching the NESOI platform, which is one of the main objectives, the main goals of NESOI project. The NESOI platform is a place where promoters can share their projects, seek advice, look for partners, find financial and technical solutions that can help them to implement their ideas. The platform wants to be a tool for technical and financial assistance, and it mainly will showcase the lessons learned, policies, and plans for effective investment that we developed during these almost 5 years of project of NESOI, increasing the knowledge sharing and supporting the creation of new skills and expertise from the user. So to access the platform, you need to register, upload your project, and see how other registrants can help you to implement it. The main goal is to provide this pool of matchmaking to the ones that want to develop, the ones that have the expertise, the ones that can give you advice, the ones that could provide you some insights. So thank you very much all for participating. It was really nice to have you all here, and I will close the session for today. Very soon this will be uploaded on YouTube, and I don't think I can say it, but we might have it on a podcast. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Bruno.
And
great to meet you, Domenico and Kostas.
Thank you very
good
much.
afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Bye.
Good afternoon.
Bye-bye.